seems like a balanced Oregon offense. What do you see on film?
Very balanced, like you said. Like they have the ability to create explosive plays in the passing game with their receivers, tight ends, and backs, and they have the number one rushing offense in the country. So they generate a lot of big plays.
Is there something specific about that rushing offense and why it works well?
That is, they make you defend the entire field. You know, it starts with their passing game. Like I said, everyone in their passing game is a threat, including their backs and tight ends. They do a great job with formations, shifts, stuff that can catch your eyes. And then it doesn't matter who they have in the backfield. All of their backs have the ability to create, and they can take it to the house at any time they get the ball.
You've seen some tight ends during your time.
Yeah.
Have you seen one like Oregon has?
I mean, he makes some pretty impressive plays. He's probably the most complete tight end that we've played.
Hope you haven't answered this yet, but Oregon's running backs, they're really good at breaking off long runs. How
Yes.
do you kind of approach them, and how do you stack up against them?
Have to gang tackle. You know, the play's never over. So we're talking about guys sprinting out of the stacks on the backside of pursuit. They do a great job of creating plays, and there's a lot of times where it looks like the play's about to be over, and it should be a 5-yard gain, and they're turning those into explosive plays. So we just have to have the play's never over mentality, and there's always attack.
In fall camp, you said you challenged Kamari to be a lot more of a vocal leader through this season. How have you kind of seen that progress up until this point?
You've seen it on the field. You've seen him. There's been situations where, you know, on game day, as a coaching staff, you can't fix the problems on the field. The players have to do it themselves. And sometimes in practice, you can't help yourself and you help the players out, but on game days, it's just them. And there's been times where he's been able to get us out of situations in the past where he probably wouldn't have been as assertive.
Has there been a mentality shift this week, especially with it being the last road game of the season for you guys?
You know, I think at this point in time, you know, every single week is a big game. Every single opponent is tough, so we're just having just a 1 week mentality, and we're approaching every week like it's a championship game.
Have you been proud of what you've seen from the guys this week in practice?
I have. They've been practicing hard. They've been trying to execute the game plan. We had a good day today. We just have to keep on stacking days.
How have you seen Dante Moore evolve since your time when you both were at UCLA?
You know, he's improved a lot. You know, the thing that stuck out when I first got there was he has the ability to make every single throw on the field, which obviously he still can, but it's been cool just to see just him grow over the last 2 years, and he's a complete quarterback.
Are there benefits to being that close with a quarterback that you're going to face?
You know, I don't think so. I think it was a different scheme. He was 2 years ago. He's grown and changed a lot since then.
The second half defense, the last 3 games, kind of the change from the first half. Has it been the same thing each week that's been able to turn it around?
You know, at the end of the day, it comes down to execution. So I guess big picture wise, yes, but there's a lot of different things that, you know, are behind that.
Lincoln has talked a lot about learning how to win, and with this defense starting slow the last 2 games, what do you think that has kind of taught them about like the winning process?
You know, I think you just have to, like we talked about, next play and mentality, regardless what happened the play before, regardless what happened the series before, the half before. We just have to just make sure we're just executing at that present moment in time, and we feel very confident that when we're doing that, we're a very tough team to beat.
What stands out about Oregon's offensive line?
Just their size and athletic ability. That, you know, they're very, very big, but for guys that size, they're all very, very good in space.
Has anyone else stood out as a vocal leader to you that maybe has surprised you this season?
Dev. You know, I think Dev was last year, but it's been cool just to see him and take the step. Not just with the defensive line like he was this past year, it's been more with the entire defense and EG, I think, and those 2 guys.
I know Lincoln talked at the beginning of the season about relying less on the transfer portal this year, and I think if you just kind of look at the starters on this team, it seems like maybe less than normal that there's been a reliance on that. I wonder if you notice like an impact that has had on the culture maybe of this team, or kind of the differences you've seen since that strategy change.
Yeah, I think the more, you know, the more program kids you can have through high school, the better, just because they're doing things your way. That's the only way that they know. And then when you do go to the portal, it's important to make sure that you're getting guys that can elevate your culture, which I think we've done a good job of this past year.
How are you feeling at this point in the season about the depth in the secondary? I mean, Kennedy stepped up, had a breakout game kind of, or at least a breakout moment.
Yeah, We feel good, regardless of who's in the game. We always tell the guys the standard and doesn't change. And we give our backups a ton of reps in practice. We two-spot a lot. So when they go in games, we feel confident that they're going to execute.
What is the biggest difference between the youth and the secondary between now versus the beginning of the season?
Just the reps, all the reps that they get. It's not just the reps in practice, it's the walk-through reps. When guys just get all these reps, you just see them getting better and better and better, but you don't always get to see them apply it on Saturdays because they're not playing. So when they go out there and finally get a chance to play, it's exciting to see it and pay off.
For Kennedy in particular, where have you seen him take the biggest steps this season?
Communication and just being more assertive. He's very smart. He knows the defense, but kind of like Kamari was, he would just kind of just keep it to himself. And I just think the more he's been out here, been around the guys, he's just been more vocal.
How important is it at this point in the season to have a really strong scout team? Because, not only are they helping you prepare, but if enough injuries happen, they might be looking at a spot on the depth chart too.
It's huge. You play a lot of different styles of offenses, and they need to mimic that offense the best that they can, from the offensive line to the receivers, the backs, the quarterback. So the better look they can give us, the better we're going to play on Saturday. So it's huge.
Sorry if I missed this at the beginning, but what stands out most about Oregon's rushing attack and just those running backs in general?
Like I was saying earlier, it doesn't matter what back they put in back there. All their backs have the ability to make a big play. They can all create. They all break tackles. They're good in space. They use them in the passing game as well. And they really just make you defend the entire field.
Coach, what would you say the strength of this year's USC defense is and why?
I think so far, I would say I think we play hard. I think we attack. I think we need to be more consistent, but I think that's gotten better. We just need to continue to have a next play mentality.
Coach, Lincoln Riley said that the Iowa win was a culture win for you guys, but how have you been seeing the culture being implemented into the defense, especially the last couple of weeks?
You see it when the things that matter to the staff start mattering to the players, and it's not just us that's enforcing the things. When the players start enforcing the things, you can tell that it's really starting to work.
What was the biggest difference as you saw for the defense in that second half that you feel like will translate to a full game, like with Oregon?
Just execution. They went out there, they were flying around, they were executing. When something didn't go their way or our way, I feel like they had a next play mentality. And, regardless of what happened, whether it was a good play or bad play, just line up and next play and make them do it all the way down the field.
You spoke last week about, how this time of year is kind of like being in the NFL with single elimination games and whatnot. So is there any other comparison that you can kind of draw right now between college football and the NFL?
No, I would say at this point in time, it's really just that. It's every single game is a very, very important game. You win, you're still in it. You don't, you're out.
How would you evaluate the impact that Anthony Lucas had on the game against Iowa?
He had a great game. It wasn't imperfect, but he did a good job affecting the game in the run game, setting an edge, playing well against tight ends, and then his pass rushes continued to improve each week.